Okay, Shawn Hart back at you. I promised I was going to do it. When I read these chapters, we're going to do it in sequential order all the way through to the epilogue. So you're talking about probably a total of, let's just see here, about 12 or 13 settings in all. So here it is, alive, in the flesh, no frills, just straight up reading right out of the book. Today, we're talking about private label millionaire secrets, of course. And today, we're going to do chapter one, which is titled Where It All Started. Now, before I begin this chapter, I have to admit that oftentimes truth is much stranger than fiction, right? So the story that I'm about to read about in chapter one is pretty remarkable. In fact, it's almost going to seem unbelievable because I literally took $0 out of my own pocket and turned that into millions of dollars in sales. So remember, I don't have a set schedule. I'm just going to go through each chapter page by page, maybe day by day. It may take a few days off, but think about it as this live reading. It's sort of like the McRib sandwich, okay? Like you always know that the McRib's coming back. You just don't know when, right? So, chapter one is where it all started. And the subhead of this chapter is it's easier to get forgiveness than it is to get permission. Now I'm taking credit for that, but I derived this statement was sort of a derivative from a book called The Grace Hopper, sort of like grasshopper but grace hopper. So those of you that are on the live stream right now on Facebook, I can see you there, and YouTube and Twitter. You should be able to just comment in the comment section under the video. So if you place a comment, I'll get that comment live. If you have a question specific about the story or something like that, I can highlight that in this thing. So this should take probably 10, 15 minutes at the most. So here we go. It was late October 2008, and my new bride, Crystal, had just given birth to my second son named Moses. He woke me up from a dead sleep and frantically asked me, Shawn, what the hell's going on? All of my credit cards are getting declined. Well, I had just launched a new private label business with a product called iHeater. I'd been working long hours, starting at 5 a.m. until 10 or 11 a.m. or p.m. in the evening, rather. Crystal had heard me bragging for several weeks about how this new business was just killing it and how this was finally going to be our ticket to having a wildly successful business. I still remember her voice, though. If you're making all this money, why is my credit card being declined? Now, this was a crazy moment because imagine having two young young boys. Cash was just over a year old. Moses was just a few weeks old, and of course, all of our bills were paid. She never had to worry about that. But all of a sudden, she's trying to use a credit card and it's declined. Just imagine that. Been married for a couple of years, and all of a sudden, what you thought was reality is not really reality for a moment. So here I am backpedaling. I'm trying to explain to my wife, my new bride, as I call her, what the hell's going on here? Why is her credit cards being declined? Well, I reached over, back to the book. I reached over to check the clock next to my bed, 10:34 p.m. Honey, I said, this new business iHeater is taking off. So I needed to use all available credit to pay for Google Ads. Well, when you're when you're getting a massive return on your investment for advertising, all of a sudden, as a businessman, I'm going to put every component of capital that I have into this advertising platform because it's returning a multiple of that. Of course, she doesn't understand this. She's a new mother. All she knows is, hey, I tried to buy groceries and my card was declined. I thought you were making all this money. Keep bragging about this business. So this is where I had to kind of fall on the sword. Back to the book. She said, what do you mean, Shawn? What's going on? Well, the truth is, I was terrified and I tried not to show it. I had to tell my wife that we had accumulated $1.6 million from our iHeater sales in just a few weeks. And I needed to take that money and go to China and find some heaters so we could fulfill orders before customers started asking for refunds. Yes, I collected $1.6 million in transactions before I even had a product to sell. I do not recommend you do this. I was young and energetic and a little bit enthusiastic. And when a good thing's going good, you just want more of it. So I was literally accepting orders from customers for a product I had not yet procured. Don't do this. You can't get away with this anymore. This is the horse and buggy days in internet marketing. So she says, $1.6 million. Where the heck did you get $1.6 million? Well, as far as Crystal knew, I had a few $1,000s in the bank. We owned our home. We paid off our credit cards every Friday morning. So when her card was declined earlier that day while trying to purchase groceries, she was confused. It was time to come clean. I remember my hands were shaking, my heart began to race as I told her the real story, remembering that we had two new mouths to feed. Cash was 16 months old and Moses was only a few weeks old. I glanced over at Moses and his bassinet to be sure he couldn't hear me. Don't know why. Just a few weeks old. But as I decided to fall on the sword and admit my recent shenanigans to his mother, the truth is that all that $1.6 million I'd accumulated was from pre orders for our eye heater. I had started with an initial ad budget of $30,000, which was the limit on my PNC credit card. The money from the orders had begun to pay for more ads very quickly, so I kept recycling the cash from the orders to pay for more ads. My offer was producing sales at lightning speed. I was converting $1 bills into $27 bills at a rate of $1.6 million in just 3 weeks. But I had one very huge problem. The problem was I had no supplier, no inventory, and I needed to fly to China to keep this sales machine running or give it all back. And for those of you just joining the live stream, my name is Shawn Hart. I'm co-author of Private Label Millionaire Secrets, and I've decided to go through each chapter of this book, maybe on a daily basis. We'll see. And this is chapter 1. See, I was selling and collecting payments for a product I did not yet have, but did know exactly how to get it. And I knew that I had to make this work. Not only was my personal fortune at stake, I had thousands of customers relying on me. This was thrilling and scary at the same time. This was September 28th, 2008, when it all started. This is backing up a little bit before I created my offer. So, September 28th, 2008, I had discovered a brand new opportunity and a product that was starting to get traction in the market. My wife had heard countless war stories of products that I'd tried in the past and had failed. So, of course, she was nervous. This time would be no different, though, or this time would be different, though. Back to the book. 6 weeks later, as I boarded a flight for China, I was trying to convince myself that this was the right move. Here was my plan. I was taking $1.6 million of money that was not yet mine to go find a supplier for this product launch. I had to fulfill the promises we were making every day to my fast growing customer list, and I didn't want to let them down. Now, during my 3-hour layover in Detroit, as my morning coffee was wearing off, I became painfully aware of the magnitude of my actions. I came within inches of talking myself out of this trip and returning home to safety. Worst case scenario, I go ahead with my plans of investing this 1.6 million that doesn't belong to me, and if everything goes wrong, we will likely lose it all. Best case scenario, I go through with my plan and use this cash to purchase the heaters, brand them, and then fulfill the orders and walk away with 7 figures in profit. Just imagine that. In a couple of weeks' time, I created an offer that was so good and the product had such a rabid demand that I created $1.6 million in sales for the product before I even sourced it. Now, before you go thinking, oh, this is a scam and you should not do this, I knew where to get it and I knew how to get it. I just hadn't procured the product yet. There we go. We have a comment. Young old man, Shawn Hart. Thank you, Tanvir. Where are you calling in from today? So basically, my plan was this. A, I give all of that $1.6 million in refunds and I eat all of my ad budget that I'd been paying off with those sales, right? Or B, I take that money and I go to China, I find the product, I buy the product, I brand the product, I bring it back to the US and I fulfill the orders. All right. So here's what I want you to understand. Before I put this offer together, I had to go find something that was crazy good, right? So what happened was, this is what got me in the predicament. Back to the book. Here's what happened that got me into this predicament. September 28, 2008, Shelbyville, Indiana. The financial crisis had taken over the world and everyone was looking for ways to save money. I was reading the local newspaper in Shelbyville called the Shelbyville News, and I came across an advertisement promoting a one-day sale at a local farm supply store. The ad was promoting a so-called miracle heater. Speak of the devil, my wife just brought me some breakfast. Thank you, honey. The ad was promoting a one-day sale at a farm supply store. I think it was called Orscheln Farm Store. The ad was promoting a so-called miracle heater. It claimed that the heater could heat 1,000 square feet for just $1 per day using technology known as zone heating. So I went to check it out and to see if I could save us some money in the upcoming winter instead of heating with propane gas. In the book, you see there's an image of this heater. Let me just pull it out here real quick. You can see this is the trailer. This is the trailer that was parked outside of the farm store in Shelbyville, and it was called Heat-A-Lot was the brand name. So I snapped that photo of the stock trailer from the heater sale in order to do some research on the company selling the heaters. This image shows the Comfort Zone heater that was being sold at the store during this special event. You can see it. I'm sorry, right here. That's what the heater was. And while I made my way through the morning traffic to the store, my mind was in 1,000 different places as usual. As I pulled in, I knew something was up. This place was a madhouse. The parking lot was packed. This was really odd, right? In a small town. Inside the store, though, the scene was even crazier. I discovered a frenzy of shoppers reminding me of something you might see at a state fair. As it turns out, these shoppers were here to purchase these so called miracle heaters. All of my past experiences had taught me to feed the starving crowd, like we talked about in the preface of the book yesterday. Excuse me. But why was the crowd starving? That's what I had to know, and here's what I saw. Now imagine this small town Shelbyville, Indiana, tiny little farm store, sort of like Tractor Supply, something like that. And the small town, and the parking lot's full, and there were people standing in line out the door to get in and find these miracle heaters. It was crazy, right? Excuse me. Dozens of regular people just like me lined up to purchase this little miracle in a box. All right. You ready for this? $649 a piece. $649. And the most shocking part, that most of the people were buying 2 or more of these heaters at the same time. What the heck is inside of this box? Could it be 2 magical little elves rubbing sticks together to create free heat? My pulse started to increase and I began to get nervous. It's giving me goosebumps just thinking about it again today because I knew I was seeing something extraordinary. I knew that this could be an opportunity where I could utilize many of the skills I'd been acquiring from my many previous failures. I did not purchase the heater being pitched as Comfort Zone, but I did take a picture of the product and the inventory that was quickly being depleted in that trailer. Instead, I focused on what was sure to be my next $1 million idea that would actually work for me, or so I hoped. So I raced home and I skipped the grocery stop that I had originally intended to make to see how much I could buy a similar heater for at wholesale prices. What I had seen was a starving crowd, and now I needed to find out what the wholesale price was for these heaters so I could size up how big of an opportunity this really was. I knew I had to tap into that feeding frenzy. And like anyone else at the time, I fired up my computer and I went to Alibaba.com. After scrolling through thousands of listings of ginseng and all my other past browsing data, I had finally struck gold. Alas, a similar heater could be had for just $114. So imagine this. This heater is being sold for $649. All right. And people are buying 2 or more at a time. And now I find that I can buy something very similar for just $114. What an amazing opportunity, right? This photo was taken by our supplier in China when the first load of our iHeater brand, that's the brand that we put on the product, was iHeater, were about to be sealed into a shipping container. You can see this image right here. This is the container being shipped from China. And then if you look over here, you can see this image, all right? This image here, this picture was taken by my BlackBerry as my partner Steve Whiteneck began to unload that first load of heaters from China on November 10th, 2008. And this one right here, you can see, younger version of myself. This is me standing next to the first pallet of iHeaters that we were shipping out on November 10th, 2008 at 1426 Sadler Circle West Drive, Indianapolis, Indiana. Crazy story, but true. Now, after I found the price, I did some quick math and found that there was over $500 in gross profit from each heater that was selling. Although I didn't stick around the farm supply store to finish my bean counting, I was certain that this group had sold at least 100 heaters in the first 2 hours. When I left, the crowd showed no signs of slowing. That's a $50,000 profit from one single location, and I soon found that this promoter had several locations. I switched from Alibaba to Front Page Editor. That's a now outdated website creation software from Microsoft. And over the next several hours, I built an ugly website and created a few Google ads. Boy, I wish I had a copy of that website today. I knew that if I could get some traffic to my site, then I could easily test an offer. This would let me find out quickly whether my idea would work. My offer was simple: call now to buy this miracle heater for just $479 with free shipping. What happened next changed the entire trajectory of my life forever. What happened? Well, I got an email from Google saying that my ad was disapproved. Disapproved, I thought. Why? I'd been playing around with Google Ads, then called Google AdWords, for some time and had seen a small amount of success. I changed a few words in my ad and waited. I was anxious and nervous at the same time because I just knew for sure that this was the right time, the right product, the right offer, and I'd finally acquired the right skills to put it all together and build a huge business. It seemed like days while I waited, but it was only a couple hours before my BlackBerry ding, it dinged back to life with the good news: my ad was now live. Within 3 minutes, my phone rang with a number from Wisconsin. I don't know anyone from Wisconsin, I thought, and I didn't want to be disturbed, so I let it go to voicemail. Immediately, my phone rang again, same number. I was sure it would be a telemarketer trying to extend my car's warranty, so I ignored it. So a minute later, a third call came in, and this time I answered. What do you want? As I heard a voice ask, is this where I can order one of these miracle heaters? My heart stopped. I didn't know what to say, and I was frozen out of fear and excitement at the same time. So I hung up and walked away. Could it be true? Could I just have received my first sales call for a product that I knew nothing about? I was doing what we now call a dry run to see if I could create some quick buzz with an offer to confirm my assumptions. I said a quick prayer and I walked back into the house to a ringing phone. This time it was from Nebraska. Hello, I answered with all the confidence I could muster up. Thank you for calling to order a miracle heater. Can I help you? As she spoke, I thought it was a dream. Yes, I'm calling to order a heater. Actually, I want two. How soon will they arrive if I order today? Oh, crap. How can I take this woman's payment? If I could accept her payment right here and now, then it would prove this idea is viable. How many do you want? I asked as I sent my wife an urgent email to call home ASAP. Two, if that's okay, she answered. Okay, the heaters are on sale now for $479 and the limit is three per household. I waited. Okay, came the reply. I'll take three. Great choice. Please hold one moment while I get your order ready. I quickly dialed my wife's office number from our landline and then at the now failing Hart Medical Supplies Company, and I asked, "Can you process a credit card for me?" Long story short, I read the card information to my wife Crystal, and she manually entered it into the terminal with a sale amount $1,437. The payment went through, and I hung up with a giant smile and immediately started planning my next move. This image is from our makeshift office call center with our sales manager, the late Charlie Klingel, November 21st, 2008, in Indianapolis. That's Charlie here. Let's see. Charlie was a great salesman. So back to the book. I immediately started planning my next move. It's working. Fast forward 11 days. I'd spent all of our cash and credit cards on Google Ads, taking pre orders for these miracle heaters, but the returns we were seeing were 27 to 1. This means that every time I spent $1 on ads, $27 came back in returns. Within 3 weeks, I had processed $1.6 million in sales, starting with only $30,000 credit limit on my PNC card. And then I used our customers' money from the ongoing sales to finance the ads. This business was cash flow positive from day one. Within the first 30 days, Google had even given me the ability to spend up to $150,000 in ads credit, right? We were off to the races. My mother, Diana, God rest her soul, was 2 years in on her battle with cancer. I had two babies at home to feed and a new bride at home to support, so I had to make this work. We had $1.6 million of my customers' money. The problem was we had no heaters yet and needed to visit the factory to confirm quality before shipping. So I did the only thing I knew how to do. I kept selling. No inventory is not good enough reason to shut off the sales machine. The show must go on. We have someone else in the room here. This is Kaleem. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, Kaleem. For those of you joining the live stream late, my name is Shawn Hart. I'm reading through one of my latest books called Private Label Millionaire Secrets. I'm going chapter by chapter. So the show must go on. Back to the book. So at this point, I had admitted to my wife that I was virtually broke, but I had $1.6 million of my customers' money. I warned her that this may be a bad bet, that she didn't have to sign off an agreement, and that I would be willing to give it all back, move on, look for something less risky, yada, yada. But she literally put both of her hands on my face. And I remember her saying, I trust you. We trust you. I had two things at this point. I had an amazing offer that was converting like crazy, and my new $150,000 Google AdWords credit limit. I immediately ramped up the ads and started digging my grave a little deeper day by day. As I was being whisked away on a Delta flight to China, I was going into debt at a rate of $4,834 per day from my Google ad spend. Remember, though, for every $1 I went into debt on my Google AdWords campaign, I was getting 27 times return at an 85% gross profit margin. Pretty good trade, right? All I needed to do was quickly inspect the inventory in China so I could fulfill these orders, and I needed to do it fast. Not so fast. Sometimes it looks like all rainbows and leprechauns, but then you quickly realize that it's not as good as you think it is. This is what happened. At about 3 a.m. one night, my business partner Steve called me. Get up and meet me at the office right away, buddy. That was his response to my hello at 3 a.m. Why? I inquired. He asked, remember those two space heaters we bought at Walmart yesterday to try out? Of course. I've been using mine to warm my workout room. It works great. Why? And Steve said, and I'll never forget, well, I took mine apart last night, and I hate to tell you, dummy, that it's the exact same heater inside ours. We're screwed. Now, at this point, we'd negotiated a much better price of $68 for our heaters, but we had purchased a couple of Lasco brand heaters at Walmart to compare. These heaters sold for just $59 at Walmart. Yeah, that's $9 less than my cost in China before shipping. And here's a picture of that product at Walmart. Now, I just wanted to help you understand that heater, although the inside of the heater and the inner workings was exactly the same technology, it was a complete different format. It looked different. It was dressed different. It was a different color, different size, different shape, so on. Okay. Wasn't the exact same thing, but it was the same technology. All right. That image is one I took at Walmart that had the internal components the same as ours, and it was selling for $59. I took that image, it says, on December 19th, 2008. Now, when Steve said this, back to the book, my heart sank, and I still remember tasting a bit of bile in my throat. The same? I asked. No different at all, buddy, Steve said. Uh-oh. We've been claiming proprietary technology, miracle savings, and all that jazz while commanding $479 per unit. Now he's telling me the same technology can be had at Walmart for just $59? What should I do? Well, at this point, I was all in. I had no chance of backing out, so I stuck my head into the proverbial sand and I ignored this newfound information. Onward we marched, and thankfully, when we decided to go for it on 4th and long instead of punting, God smiled on us. In the very first year of this seasonal business, we produced over $9 million in sales and $6 million in cash profits. We were better prepared for the second year, where we did just shy of $20 million in sales and averaged over $150,000 per day in revenue just from our newspaper ads alone. Now, this image, get it to focus here, is one of our best performing newspaper ads from November 11, 2008, as you can see in the top left corner of this print-ready PDF. Okay? Now, my current business partner, Seth, some of you know, and co-author of this book, Private Label Millionaire Secrets, came into the company as an intern after the second year. Seth was young and eager to learn and on fire about marketing and business. We hit it off immediately with the chemistry of wine and cheese and have created numerous successful businesses and wildly profitable brands since then, but more on that later. By year 3 for iHeater, we grossed $27 million that same 4-month season, November through February, before selling out to a private equity firm for just over $13 million. So I ran this company for 3 years, started with absolutely $0 out of my pocket, just a $30,000 credit limit on a credit card, right? And we did 9 million, 20 million, 27 million respectively, and then sold the entire company out to private equity. Well, 85% of it for $13 million. Now, I realize that this story has gone by very fast. And let's break down the math. The important thing to consider is that this business began with only an amazing offer and some Google ads on a $30,000 credit card. The entire business totally financed itself from day one. It was amazing. I started with the initial $30,000 credit card limit, which was paid off from the first few days of sales. Those ads sent traffic to an ugly web page with an offer and a phone number to call and order. Just imagine that. For those of you joining me a little late, my name is Shawn Hart, co-author of Private Label Millionaire Secrets, and this series of live streams, I'm going to break down the book chapter by chapter. So think about that. I had a great offer. I invested $30,000 of money that wasn't mine from a credit card into Google Ads, driving traffic to an ugly web page that I created. It was basically a digital uh, business card that said, call this toll free number to order, that forwarded to my cell phone. All right. As soon as those first orders came in, I poured coal on the fire, right? I hit the gas pedal full speed ahead and created $1.6 million in sales before I ever even had a product in hand to deliver. Ridiculous, right? But I want you to understand that if the offer is correct, right? That means what are you selling? How much you selling for? If the offer is correct and the product is the right timing, the right place with the right offer, then this can happen over and over. And we've done this time and time again while launching private label products. All right, back to the book. From there, the sales that we made continued to pay for our expanding ads budget. So basically, what I was doing, I was taking money from customers where they were placing orders. All right, I would place the order for the product. We had an 80% profit margin, right? Or 65% profit margin. So I'd place an order for the product, and all the profit I would roll back into paying for more Google ads. If every time you put $1 into a slot machine, $27 comes out in sales, you want to do that as fast as you can. Feed the machine, pull the lever, right? That's what we were doing. So from there, our sales that we made continued to pay for our expanding ads budget. And then the first year, that initial $30,000 from my credit card yielded me $9 million in revenue and $6 million in profits to put in my pocket. Think about that. This is before taxes. $30,000 on a credit card. Customer places an order, pays off the credit card. At the end of the year, in 4 months' time, you put $6 million profit in your pocket. Remarkable, right? We did another 20 million the next year and 27 million the year after that. It all began with that original $30,000. That was not mine. We multiplied that into $56 million in sales and received just over 13 million in an exit deal. $69 million in 12 months of selling, guys. That's 3 years at we only worked 4 months out of the year, right? November, December, January, February, and did $69 million. Now, it only took $30,000 to create 57 million and that exit and an exit of over 13 million. We never one single time had to put our own money into that. That alone is truly remarkable. That's the power of a mafia offer and post-purchase marketing. You'll soon understand how you too can create a similar result for yourself with what we now call a mafia offer. I still can't believe how quickly things developed and still don't feel worthy of what we've accomplished. All this was possible because of a great idea, a mafia offer, a wife who believed in me, and a business credit card. I know that this story fast forwarded you from zero to hero, but the question is how? That's what we're going to teach you in this book. The skill to identify opportunities, create a mafia offer, and make your business insanely profitable with post purchase marketing. We'll show you what we've learned over the years so you can avoid the mistakes we've been making along the way. Now, we'll also show you some amazing shortcuts to success that we figured out along the way. I don't want you to think that we have all the answers, but we do have many of the answers to the challenges you're likely to face during your journey. Despite the challenges we've overcome, we've gotten really good at what we do, and our goal is to transfer most of that knowledge to you here in this book. I don't know exactly who you are, but I thank you for the opportunity to create work that is meaningful for me and for loaning me your most valuable asset, your time. We promise to do our best to show you a positive return on the time you spend reading these pages. The good news is, if you're holding this book or watching this reading, then you're already in the top 10%. This world needs more success. It needs more people who will not take no for an answer. It needs you. Let the journey begin. Strap in and enjoy the ride. Now, let me read a quick disclaimer before we sign off for the day. Things happened so quickly with iHeater that we were able to secure the manufacturing and assured delivery to the US before our promised shipping deadlines. I do not recommend trying to pre sell anything before delivery. My name is Shawn Hart, and this has been Chapter 1, Where It All Started, from my book, Private Label Millionaire Secrets. I hope you've enjoyed this time with me today. Could be tomorrow, could be Monday, you never know. But the next time I see you, we're going to jump into Chapter 2, which is the easiest way to create sales. God bless you. I'll see you then.